John, what are we talking about tonight?
Oh,
TTRPGs.
Right, in general, but I mean more specifically. Have you got a topic for us?
Do you remember your first time?
I do remember my first time. I
Can we not?
I could tell you about
please
it, but
no. Please no. If you tell yours, I'm going to tell mine, and it's going to be a lot weirder.
yeah, moving on.
So, you got a party together, you and your friends,
That's always good.
you're the DM, their first level.
Yeah.
What will their first encounter be?
The first encounter for first level folks. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You know, what
But-
would you put it together encounter for?
Well, first of all, this is unrealistic. I don't have friends.
Right. So sometimes in streaming, you have to suspend your disbelief or suspend
Okay.
your susbelief.
So if I had friends, I'm very partial to you find yourself in a tavern. I think that's just very, it's classic. If you do it well, like you can't have cliche, you're in a tavern, they want you to go down and clear rats in the basement. Like you only get one cliche per starter. But I think one of my favorite ones we've ever done was waking up in prison that you did. And
Yeah.
I loved that because the way you react to people in prison is very different from the way you would react in a tavern. You know, in a tavern, you got to find a reason to go over and talk to somebody. In prison, you're just locked in a cell with people and you're like, what the shit?
There's a certain camaraderie just built into that
Right.
situation.
It is. I really like that one. I also really prefer campaigns where we start off where before the game ever started, we have decided how we know each other. Instead of having to go through that like whole 2 hour long, like, well, hi, my name is so-and-so and I'm a sis. And you know,
It's like the first day of school. Everybody stand in front of the class and say one thing about yourself.
special. Yeah. I do like one, at least where our two characters know each
That
other.
shit never goes away, by the way.
Never. It's
I'm 58
corporate
years old.
America.
I'm at work. We have a big meeting, and it's like, let's go around the table one time, and everybody introduce yourself and tell us one thing about you.
we're gonna do an icebreaker. Tell me which door you would choose, and it'll tell me something about you. I fucking hate that one
I think that's better than one
It's
thing
not.
about yourself.
because I always choose the black door, and then they're like, "Oh, you're a very closed off person. You're not very extroverted." And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, appreciate it." But anywho's.
But we digress.
But we digress. I do like it when, even if the whole party doesn't know each other, if they know, like, we know each other, and then you three know each other, and then the DM kind of gives us a catalyst event that brings the two groups together, just so it's not so inorganic having to meet each other. But yeah, taverns, jail, and already knowing each other, probably my three top entry points.
But you haven't mentioned an encounter.
Well, I feel like being in jail and having to figure out either how to get yourself out, be bonded out, is an encounter. You mean like a combat encounter or just an encounter? Because to me, encounter could be either.
Yeah. So, I mean, I liked everything you had to say,
It just wasn't on topic.
unlike John over there.
It wasn't that I disliked it.
But
I'm just clarifying.
if you were taking some first level characters and however you had them put together, met in a bar, or met in a jail cell, and they were going to hit their first encounter, what would you as a DM try to put together for them for that very first encounter, first level character?
And why is it rats?
It's not rats. It's never rats. I hate rats. I really like either for them to get like a pack of something, like a pack of wolves or something, or one small kind of other planar thing, like a small demon or a hellhound or something that it's either a pack of something that's overwhelming or a singular thing that's really cool. But I think I really like wolves as an encounter, as a first encounter. I don't know why.
It's a good one
It's
because
one of my favorite
typically they're, out in the countryside.
Yeah. I get to do pack tactics
Foresty areas,
and stuff like
it's a good
that,
one.
and have them surrounded, and get to have like spooky, dark. Yeah, I like wolves. I think wolves would be my number one. I apologize for not answering correctly the first time. I misunderstood, I suppose.
You will answer correctly or you'll get the whip.
There's a good first encounter.
Yeah.
So
Go.
I don't really like giving beasts as encounters. This is one where I might do it, but I try to stay away from it because I'm not a big fan of killing animals.
Hence plays druid
All
almost
the
every time.
Because we have obnoxious what's that thing? The
Tim?
turn
Obnoxious
undead
Tims?
users that will turn your undead constantly. Like, I don't really like to use undead either. So, in between, I think a small extra planer is good.
Definitely.
And it's not something you see first very often. So, I think that's a really good idea. And maybe a very small, like, dragon or something. If you can find one that small.
It's still in the egg.
It's an egg. Hello, whole noddle.
Hey.
Hello.
So, your point about undeads are really good, but you know me. I love skeletons, and I think skeletons make great first encounters. Basically, first level folks are going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 12 hit points.
Yeah.
Skeletons, your basic skeleton has somewhere in the neighborhood of 8
to 12 hit
points. So it was like, how many people are in the party? 4. Throw 5 skeletons at them.
Yeah.
Add 1 or 2 more than is in the party.
Because they're not very smart. It's not
they're
like
not
they're
very
gonna...
smart. They don't do huge damage. They're basically all
But they do have
carrying
some-
a shield and a short sword.
They do have some
And throwing at them.
resistances.
And if it's the great thing about skeletons or any kind of pack, like using wolves or whatever, if they're cutting through them too easy, and 2 more skeletons come around the corner,
Yeah.
2 more wolves jump out from behind the thing to give them something. But I think anything that you can throw at them in a group, so it could be some goblin highway bandits, and
Goblins is a good one.
because again, your basic goblin is going to be comparable to a first level character, and you throw 1 or 2 extras at them, and then you can adjust the scenario as it's going on. If you need them to feel it a little bit more than they're feeling it, throw 3 more goblins come running
Right.
out from behind the well.
It is kind of a litmus test for how they're going to treat future encounters. So it is a good idea to throw something kind of not too spectacular at them, see how they do, what kind of tactics they immediately fall into, and then you can take that knowledge and make a little more better encounter later on and keep stepping it up. And it is a first level encounter.
Yeah, I wish I'd known I was going to have this thought. I would have done a little bit of research with somebody out there, pretty big in the industry, wrote a book called "The Monsters Know How to Fight" or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically, the monsters employ tactics as well as the characters do. Because a lot of times we just it's straightforward. They don't consider things like focusing fire
Napoleonic D&D.
Trying right. It's just they move forward. You
One
guys,
line.
the party's the only one who actually thinks through things in battle. And I think for a first encounter, you probably got to keep the monsters a little stupid, right? And just bring them at them.
Maybe until they start getting special stuff around 3rd level.
Right. And then you start doing things like, for some reason, they're focusing on the squishy folks in the back.
I think if
It puts a new dynamic in there. Let's see how the party adjusts to it. But for that first one, I think it's just, mindless zombies.
Right.
Zombies are another good first level encounter.
I think if you scale your encounters ability to combat, appropriately to what your players are doing, because that first encounter normally your players are straight line hack and slash, so your enemies are going to be that. And then when they start learning about flanking and surprise attack, so do your monsters. And when your people start learning about attacking their casters and taking out their healers, well, that's when your enemies start learning that process too. I think if you scale it with them so that as they get better in their combat tactics, so do your people, it'll grow with them. But
Yeah, so a lot of it does have to do with your players as well.
yeah.
First level, first encounter. For new players, you would play that differently than first level, first encounter for established, experienced players. You could have the monsters fight more tactically when you've got a group of folks that have been playing for a couple of years.
Or use some exotic bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
So, it was funny to me in the D&D starter set, Dragon of Icespire Peak. And one of the first encounters where they're supposed to be between first and third level, there was a freaking mana core in there. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be bloody as hell. They shoot them tail spikes. They got
Yeah.
all
They got a lot of
kind
shit. They're fucking hard.
fly. Yeah, they wiped it up pretty quickly. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was concerned about, was this too beefy an encounter for such low-level folks? And I was not.
Going all out.
Right. The monster did not think through whatever the title of that book was.
The tactics and things like that, yeah. I also think you can set the tone of your game with your first encounter. So if it's going to be like heavily undead, throw skeletons in there, and then you ramp it up to, zombies and liches, other things as you go along. But if you're going to be doing something with like the Feywilds or, extra planar things, throwing in a small spawn from another plane kind of sets your tone of what they can expect. So as much as it's a litmus test for you to see what your players are going to do, it's kind of a player litmus test to see, well, what kind of stuff are we going to hit?
What's this game about?
Right. If you're going to be in the woods a lot, then you have wolves and you have bears and then you hit a giant and then you hit a, whatever. So you can actually kind of dip your toes into whatever genre your game kind of plays in and kind of set a tone for your whole game. Not that I've ever thought that much into it, but, you could. It's an option.
Thinking beforehand, you could try.
It's not something I do personally.
It's definitely a good idea to have it start forwarding the story that early if you can and want to. You don't necessarily have to, because like a lot of people remember the first encounter anyway, but
a first level 1 encounter can be as epic as 15th level. We finally got to the big bad. It can be that epic. And I think, you want that first one, especially if you got new players, you want that first one to be
epic.
Satisfying.
Whatever the definition of epic is, satisfying and something that amps them up. Like,
and they want more.
That was awesome.
If it drags and is crunchy, like, we've had combat that like just got super just drugged down with like just bullshit. If that's your first one, that's not going to set you up to be like, man, I can't wait to go back next week. Like, it's going to be like, that wasn't very fun.
And it's really easy to do that at first level, because it's a lot of the time, if you're a marshal, you're running up and swinging. If you're a caster, you'll have a few cantrips, but you're going to be like, throw out a cantrip, throw out a magic missile, and that's it. That's why I kind of
throw out a cantrip, throw in a magic missile, throw in the towel.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Throw in a short rest.
I kind of like the idea of starting at 3, or when a character is a little more developed too. But there is the tradition of being wet towels for a couple levels.
Wet towels. I also think if you play your first encounter more role play heavy, like in my head, like if you have like a little, imp or whatever, instead of it just being, okay, well, there's an imp, and they're hacking and slashing. But if you're role playing it with them and, he scurries across and he goes, like if you make it fun for them, instead of it just being, okay, well, what do you want to do? I think that also kind of sets your tone and makes it engaging for them. It shows them the combat side, it shows them the role playing side, and it shows them how those two kind of mingle.
What do you say?
That's what I heard him say. Yeah, so that's a really good point. The level to which you can add the cinematics to that first one, right? So could you throw 15 skeletons at them and they might get through? Probably, but if you only threw 5 at them, then you could spend a little more time, and so, all right, you rolled and you hit, and then, okay, next person. Or you roll your sword glances off of his shield and buries into his bony shoulder. You see him buckle back for a second and then lunge forward with his short sword, and give the play-by-play after the shots, especially for
first times, like, because it sets the tone and it's fun. And with bigger combats where you have a whole bunch of moving pieces, you can't do that with every round, or else it would be ages. So
I do feel like the words you miss are a cardinal GM or
I hate them.
DM sin. There's so many ways you can flavor it, and it should be flavored
It should be.
aside from you miss.
Yeah.
Unless you are, like you were saying, in a big group, like in our Wildmount group. If I were to do a paragraph every time one of y'all threw a dice,
We'd still be in the first dungeon.
yeah.
We wouldn't have made it out. We would just turn it, like, close our laptops. Okay, well, that was fun.
I do try to give a
Kisses.
short sentence, but you know, adjust
No, yeah.
according to what you have at the table.
It's easy to get into the roll, hit, roll, damage next, roll, miss next, roll, hit, roll, damage next.
That's one of the
thing.
reasons I like Call of Cthulhu, because you don't really get into
Especially
that.
in a large group. So, I mean, yes, first encounters. Give them something small. Give them a few of them, so that they got to start thinking about tactics.
Or with an experienced group, give them
Screw 'em up.
something big,
Fuck 'em up.
give them a lot of them, and have the objective not be to kill everything. Have the objective be to survive.
Yeah.
That could be pretty
It's
decent.
true.
Yeah, the other we've seen it in Call of Cthulhu and in Savage Worlds. We tried something similar in D&D once, and it's the dramatic scenario. It's a skill-based
Hmm.
challenge. Like, well, here's the situation. Now we're going to go around in turn order. You tell me what skill you want to apply. Give me some reasoning on how you could use that here. So probably not the first one, right? Everybody wants to fight. But then, very soon after the first one, have some skill-based challenge to get them into that mode as well, because I think it brings out more role-playing too.
I wasn't
It'll be
talking
real fun.
about that though. I was talking about like an actual encounter where they figure out halfway through, we better
We will
bugger
not-
off.
Yeah, I
or
knew
we're gonna
that.
be rolling new
Hey,
characters.
you just made me think of that other thing where it's like it's not about killing something. But yeah, I agree. Letting them know early that
Stupidity.
you
will
may not be able to
tolerated.
win everything. So being able to recognize when you should say, let's get out of here.
It kind of goes back to setting the tone for the campaign. If you're going to run your campaign like that, maybe it's a good idea to start them off at the very beginning.
It's true. I think that first encounter sets up how your group plays, how your campaign is going to be, and it doesn't have to be like a point for point, but it should reflect what everybody at the table is wanting to do in that particular campaign.